Hello everybody and welcome to another Media Studies lesson. If you're new to the channel, do go back and watch all the previous videos because they build one on top of the other. If you're a student, you're going to need a mini whiteboard and a whiteboard pen, and you're also going to need an exercise book as well. I deliver these as if they were lessons in a classroom to the best of my ability. These aren't just quick little videos about what these topics are. This is a full lesson as if it was in a classroom. So at some point you are going to need to pause the video to give yourself the time to actually complete the tasks and activities. If you're a teacher, don't forget to go to the comment section. You'll be able to see in the description a link to my TES Shop where you can download this lesson to deliver it for yourself. Okay, so this is our LSQ. You can see that in the top right corner. LSQ stands for low stakes quiz. All of our lessons start with 5 questions covering content that we have looked at in the past. Maybe not from directly the previous lesson, but some of the lessons that we have visited in the past. Now we have color scheme going on here. This is media language, so it's orange. Our first topic, or topic 0, was our introduction to media, and that was red. So some of the words that we're looking at here are from different topics. So this would be the very beginning of the lesson. My students would be entering in silence. They know to sit down, get their mini whiteboards out, and answer these 5 questions in as full a sentence as possible while I'm taking the register and making sure the lesson is ready to go. So no more than 5 minutes. Again, pause the video if you need to. So the term signified is the meaning or idea that is communicated by a signifier. An apple, for example, would be your signifier, and the signified, it could be apples, it could be health, it could be sin or temptation. There's many signifieds of an apple. High key lighting, another word from media language, that would be bright lighting with few shadows. So we have very high saturation, which means lots of strong and intense colors, but we have very low contrast. Everything's one level of brightness, usually very bright. Polysemic is a word I've mentioned already today. It means multiple meanings. Like we said, an apple can connote many different things. Signifiers tend to have one denotation. It is what it is, but connotations can be polysemic and have lots of different meanings. These next 2 are red, which means they come from our introduction to the media topic. Feminism is the belief, campaign, the quest for equality between men and women. And left-wing is a political view. It's an ideology or a belief system where you believe that society should be more equal, and to get there should be lots of government support. So that means lots of money goes into public services like the police force, the education system, the National Health Service, and people should be given support to be as equal as everybody else. The main way to do that is through higher taxes, particularly of businesses and of people who have more money, for whatever reason that is. Again, that's a real brief overview. It doesn't cover everything to do with left-wing views, but it's a nice little summary there of what that means. Okay, so this is our title slide. In a moment, when I say go, you're going to go to the front of your book, you're going to write down today's date and title and give them a nice, neat double underline. Our title today is Camera Work. Again, you can see we're still in this area of semiotic analysis. Our lesson objective is to be able to explain the terms associated with camera work, framing, angle, and movement. They are our words to do with camera work. Now, pause the video if you need to. Do not write down the learning objective, just get the date and title down. Before we move on, I would do what's known as a prerequisite knowledge check. Do you have the information already that you need to access this lesson? There is no point in talking about framing, angle, and movement and what camera work signifies if you don't understand the word signify or denote or connote. So we need to make sure you know the right words before we actually tackle anything new. So on your mini whiteboards, in as fewer words as possible, what topic are we currently studying and what is that topic about? Hopefully you've written down media language and that is all about how media products communicate meaning. So what is a semiotic analysis? It's been our title or our subtitle there for quite a long time, the last 3 or 4 lessons. Semiotic analysis, what does that mean? So that's exploring the meaning of certain signifiers and signifieds, specifically what they denote, what they connote, using words like icon and symbol. Okay, so what is the difference then between a symbol and an icon? It's a word I've used quite a few times already this lesson. What does symbol and what does icon mean? So a symbol is a signifier that connotes meaning. We've learned it over time. It's socially constructed. Whereas an icon is a signifier that denotes meaning. It looks like the thing. Using an apple to signify apples, for example, would be an icon. Okay, let's get into it then. Before we get too far into any exploration, my students always like to write down keywords before we get started. So again, add these 3 words to the back of your books. At the back of your book, you should have a terminology list with the keyword, the definition, and an example where appropriate. Pause the video here, give yourself no more than 2 minutes. So you may be familiar with the term camera angle. It's important to understand that the angle is actually only just one component of the broader term of camera work. Camera work signifies meaning through 3 key aspects. The angle, which is the tilt, if it's pointing up or pointing down. The framing, that's how much is in the shot. Are you really close or are you really far away? And then movement. So does the camera shake or zoom in or track left and right? All of these different aspects of camera work communicate meaning slightly differently. You can make a scene seem scary or dramatic or funny, depending on what you do with it. If I wanted to make someone in the class seem like a hero, then maybe I'd get the camera down low, pointing up at them, so they look tough and brave and bigger. So this is all about how meaning is communicated through a technical aspect of camera work. Now, all of that comes under the idea of this last word, positioning the audience. Again, pause the video here and add this to the back of your books. So positioning the audience can be literally placing the audience somewhere in relation to what we see. So if I put the camera down low pointing up, the audience is underneath the person. They feel small, they're looking up at someone. And if we put the camera at the top, then they're looking down, then the audience is positioned to be above someone. So it's literally moving the audience where you want to put them. But it can also be metaphorically positioning the audience to feel a certain way, to react a certain way, or to see something in a particular way. So I can build tension, I can build drama, I can make something funny by using these techniques. So positioning the audience lets you talk about denotations and connotations. A low camera angle denotes that the person is down low, whereas a slow zoom in could connote tension and fear. So we have connotations and denotations with camera work. Starting off with angle then, that's the tilt of the camera. So when the camera is positioned up high, it's a high angled shot. So it's where the camera is. Now this angle can make the subject, the thing you're filming, appear smaller or more vulnerable. High angle shots can signify someone is weak or threatened. It positions the audience to view a character in a certain way. It can connote an emotional feeling, so it can connote that point of view, but it can denote the size and scale of what we're looking at. So again, if the camera is placed down low, pointing up, we would call that a low camera angle. Again, the denotation is literally the size and scale. We are literally down low, positioned beneath them, looking up. And the connotation might be power, threat, dominance, confidence, and so on. It can be very polysemic. So we position the audience to see a character as maybe strong or dominant or powerful. When the camera is positioned at the same height as someone, then that's a level perspective, and that's known as a straight-on angle. So these are good at signifying that the audience is equal to the characters or the setting. Straight-on shots are good for dialogue or conversations and talking scenes because it's quite the natural position we would be in. When I'm talking to someone, I kind of am at their eye level. I don't squat down and look up at them to talk to them. So the short version of this is the name of the angle is where the camera is. If the camera's up high, it's a high angle. If it's down low, it's a low angle. It's where the camera is. Now, in my classroom, we would do this true, false, or possibly exercise, which, if you've seen all the previous videos, you're aware we do one at a time and we do as a discussion. Now, if you're watching this on your own, you're going to have to just think about this for yourselves. But what we want here is not just a yes-no exercise. I'm not just trying to get a true or false. I want to know why. Why is it true? Why is it false? Why would it be a discussion? So our first comment here is, this is a low camera angle. Now, do you think that is true, false, or possibly? And whichever one you go with, why? Why are you saying that? Okay, so after some feedback from my students and some discussion, we would probably land on the fact that that is true because the camera is down low. The camera is pointing up. The audience is positioned to look up towards him. We're looking up and he's looking slightly down as well. Okay, next one. The camera angle denotes he is brave. And again, after some discussion, we would probably come to the conclusion that that's probably false. The camera angle can only denote physical things. It denotes he's above us, it denotes we're below him, but because it's that word denotes, doesn't really make sense. So denotation is literal. If we're interpreting it or trying to uncover it, That wouldn't be a denotation. So the camera angle connotes he's brave. What do we think about that then? So again, after some discussion, particularly after talking about the last one, some of you might be saying, that's true, that's definitely true. But conversation would probably go more along the lines of possibly true. The low angle makes him seem more dominant, and that could connote that he's strong and confident or brave. So it's one interpretation that the camera angle connotes brave. Connotation is definitely the right word to use because it's implied. But again, it's where you don't have to be entirely right because you can just explain it. If you think it connotes bravery, then as long as you explain that, you'll be fine. Last one then. The angle positions the audience to be below him. And again, that's true. It's a low angled shot that puts the audience down low. What I was after there is you saying the word low angle because the camera is down low. Now, after a group discussion there, hopefully I would feel confident that all the students in front of me understand low angles, high angles, mid shots, straight on shots, and can explain what those things kind of start to signify. So before we move on, now in your books, it's on your own. You need to explain all of that in the front of your books. There's quite a lot there already. All we need is camera angles. Low angle, high angle, straight on shots. What are they and what can they signify? With examples. You already have the definitions in the back of your book, so you don't need too long for this. I would say 3 minutes, 4 minutes maximum on my timer. And again, as always, here is some support if you need it, but I imagine most of you will be able to write about that in your books. Again, pause the video, give yourself 3 or 4 minutes. So now we've covered camera angle, we can move on to framing. Framing is the distance from the camera to the thing you are filming. So how close or how far away you are from the action. Now, if you're closer, you can get a lot more in the frame. We call it the frame, is a bit like what your screen would be. So if you're close to the action, you can only fit so much. So here we have the camera being quite far away from the person. So we get the whole person in the frame. Here we have the camera really close to the person. So we only get their head in the frame. So it's how far away we are from the thing we're filming. Now, there are many, many different framing names. For this course, we're just going to go for the top 5. If you can learn these 5 different framings, then you'll be fine. So the framing of the shot, as we said, is the distance from the camera to the action. And that can dramatically affect the meaning that's signified because it can really position the audience to feel a certain way. So here we have an extreme close-up, magnifies beyond what the human eye would see naturally. You would then have a close-up. Now, a close-up is about the size of a human head in the frame. Often we're not filming a person. Sometimes we're filming animals or we're filming and taking photographs of landscapes. But the distance for a close-up would fit a whole human head in it. This helps you to see someone's face. It also makes it a bit more intimate. We don't know what's going on behind this person. So this is good for horror. They use a lot of close-ups and extreme close-ups because it keeps things uncomfortable. It's almost like being in someone's personal space. So the audience are positioned to be very intimate with the character, if it's a person, or very intimate with the scene, very closed off and almost trapped in a way. Then we get to a mid shot, and that's about a distance for half a person. More often than not, your film shots in broadcast media or moving image are going to be mid shots. They're used mostly for conversations. You wouldn't have a conversation with someone like nose to nose, and that's what a close-up would feel like. With a mid-shot, it feels like you're that little bit further away from them. So that's good for when people are talking. It balances the subject with their surroundings. A casual interaction or some kind of natural behavior. You get more focus on body language, so it can connote realism or just a normal sense of what the character is doing. It positions the audience to feel almost on the same level as the character. And like I say, this is mostly used for dialogue or talking scenes. Then you have a long shot. That's about the whole person. Adverts like to use long shots so you can see the whole person in their environment, doing what they're doing, using the product. You'll often see a long shot on the front cover of a magazine or, like I say, in an advert. And then the furthest away would be an extreme long shot. And this is used for something known as establishing shots. This is where you establish the scene. You show the location of where you are. You show the setting of the story in your establishing shot. Okay, so an extreme long shot would be used for buildings, landscapes, and then would step you into the action. Okay, here we have 3 media products: a video game cover, an advert, and a film poster. In my classroom, we would do this as a turn and talk with your partner. Again, if you're on your own, you're going to have to do this in your own head. But what you're going to do is identify what type of framing has been used in these products. I'm not fussed about the angle, so I'm not fussed about low or high angle at the minute. What I'm talking about here is the framing. So you can label these 1, 2, and 3 and write down what you think each framing camera work is. All right, so that first one, the Bioshock Infinite video game cover, that would be a mid shot. The guy, you've got half the person there from his waist upwards. It's not close, it's not just his head, and that shows you a little but of his surroundings and helps position the audience to feel like this is someone you can trust or be with or have a relationship with, in terms of you're going to understand this character. Maybe you're going to play as this character in the game. Okay, the second one, the e-cover advert. That's a long shot. You can see the whole person. You can see her, you can see the product, you can see the environment and how gleamingly clean it is, and how happy she is to be using this product. Number 3 is an interesting one because you've actually got a mix of shots. If you're looking at the character's face, that's obviously a close-up. Some of you may even say that's an extreme close-up. I mean, it's somewhere in between. But it's a close-up of his face to see his eye, to see his the emotions on his face, to feel connected, to feel like your personal space is being invaded, to feel uncomfortable. It's that close. But if you look in the background, you have the house, that haunted mansion looking thing. Well, that's obviously an extreme long shot to show you the scope and scale of this. And because there's no other houses around, it looks vulnerable, it looks isolated. You wouldn't have any help for miles around. So there's quite a lot of different ways camera work can be spoken about in a media product. Don't forget, when you are analysing a piece of media and talking about camera work, you are going to still be using signify and signified, connotation and denotation, and still symbol and icon. Okay, if I'm satisfied that my students now understand these different types of framing, we just need to write a little bit about it in our books. Now for this, we haven't yet done a definition of any of those types of framing. So the help here does list them in the keywords, but what you need to do is explain what framing is and talk about the different types of framing shots and what they can signify. This one's a little bit longer. I would give you 5 minutes for this in the classroom. So pause the video, 5 minutes to explain what different framing shots are. And lastly, the third aspect of camera work is movement. Now I have this repeating image here. No, there's no sound on it, but this is a scene from a film, and you can see that the camera is actually moving. So the movement of a shot is the way the camera adds a level of emotion to a scene. It's very, very much about connotation. Having the camera shake when an explosion's happen is more than just making it feel realistic. You want to avoid saying things like, it made me feel like I was there. It doesn't. It doesn't make you feel like you're there. It makes it seem more realistic. It makes it faster. It makes it more action-packed. If you look at these two characters fighting, for example, they're actually fighting quite slowly. Like the way their arms are moving isn't like super, super fast, but it looks faster because the camera is dodging and ducking and weaving as well. So it adds that level of excitement and pace and drama to things. So movement is things like shakes, pans, zooms, and tracking, which we'll get into in a minute. This particular shot that we're looking at is a handheld camera. Now that means it's not on a tripod and static. It's not still. It moves naturally or shakes, can connote drama and tension, like we said, and it introduces an element of energy to it. It certainly helps with the timing and the pace and the vibe and the feel of the shot. Again, positions the audience to feel something, adrenaline or drama. This one here, apologies for the quality, but this is a panning shot. The camera isn't shaking, it's literally moving from left to right. This one's going quite slowly. It's a little bit jerky because of the quality of it. But this is left and right, or horizontal movement. Now this can track characters and show the environment. This is also coupled with an extreme long shot. But it helps dictate the pace of a scene. The speed in which you move that camera helps set the feeling or the tone of the scene. So movement of the camera is very good for connoting the emotional vibe. Like if the camera moves slowly, then it's calm and can connote sadness or tension or fear. Whereas fast movement can signify excitement and energy, action, or maybe pressure. And the last type of movement we're going to discuss is a zoom. This camera is zooming in to the person's face. This is actually a funny type of zoom where the background zooms out and the foreground zooms in. But a zoom is when you move closer. So you go from your extreme long shot to a close-up, or from an extreme close-up out to a long shot. So a slow zoom can signify increasing importance. It can draw the audience's eye to a key detail, but it could connote things like tension or reflection or intimacy, some kind of emotional thing. A slow zoom out often signifies distance, isolation, or broadening your perspective, widening the scene. It can connote a character's disconnected. Or a quick zoom, sometimes known as a crash zoom, is urgent, excitement, surprise, or shock. So it adds energy, but it can also signify the actual meaning. Okay, in a minute, I'm going to show you another scene from a film. And when I say go, you would turn and talk to your partner. Again, if you're doing this on your own, you'll just have to think about it for yourself. And I want you to consider what effect the camera movement is having on this scene. Is it fast or is it slow? And does that help signify anything? Does it position the audience somewhere, down low or up high, or does it move where they are? Now remember, we're really only talking about the movement here. So we're not really talking about the angle or the framing, but you can talk about how the angle and framing changes from one to another. Okay, let's watch the clip and then put our thoughts down. So the clip's repeating a few times here. What I would do is pause the video and write down on your mini whiteboard what you think the movement connotes. How does it help? Okay, so I've said something like the slow zoom and then the slow vertical tracking that we have here. It slowly goes up with him. It helps it seem more tense. It's helping with the drama. We're getting closer to him. We're starting far away to see the truck, and we're getting this motion in towards his face to see his reaction. We're not seeing what he's looking at just yet. That's going to be the next scene. But that slow movement helps us understand that something big is happening, something dramatic is happening, something potentially dangerous or scary. Something big is happening through this slow pace. Okay, again, at the front of your books, you're going to need to explain camera movements. What do these camera movements mean? Now, again, we haven't written any definitions for this, so you might need a few extra minutes. Pause the video for about 4 or 5 minutes. Here's a little bit of support for you should you need it, but we're talking about zooms and tracks and panning shots. Well, that really brings us to the end of the lesson. Now, we're almost ready to start analysing some pieces of media and formulating full paragraphs and talking about things like colour and imagery as well as lighting, but there's a few more things to cover first. Hopefully, though, you now understand how to talk about camera work. Again, we're building on previous lessons, signifiers, denotes, connotes, icons and symbols, but specifically now you can talk about the camera work, and it's not just one piece of camera work. It's the framing, it's the angle, it's the movement. Lots of things to discuss. Now, if you did have time left of this lesson, what I would do is ask you to generate your thoughts on this. How is this communicating meaning? What's it saying through the use of camera work? Well done, and thank you for getting to the end of this lesson. Don't forget to drop a comment, keep it nice and polite and kind. Don't forget to download this PowerPoint if you would like it to deliver it yourself if you're a teacher. And if you're a student, I will catch you at the next one.